All right, so in this episode, we are going to do a quick introduction or overview of what Astro and Sanity is. So I'll quickly go through a couple of slides, yeah, not much. Then we'll just start setting up our project. So what is Astro? Astro is the web framework for building content-driven websites or static websites. So basically, Astro is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript but on steroids. And what they mean by content driven websites are websites that have more content, like blog websites, landing page or a marketing landing page websites, portfolio websites, and even e-commerce websites. And this will lead to one cool thing I love about Astro, which is that it ships zero JavaScript to the browser. So all the content, or rather all our components, are being rendered to a server. And whenever we need any client-side interactivity, we can just use the island architecture to just add or sprinkle interactivity to different parts of our application. And it supports many UI frameworks in terms of adding interactivity now. So you can either use the default script tag. So remember I said Astro is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript but on steroids. So you can use a normal JavaScript script tag to add interactivity. But if you are familiar with UI frameworks like React, Vue, Servlet, you can bring in those frameworks. And one cool thing is that you can add all the frameworks together. So the way I see Astro is that you're kind of building a Lego. So whenever you want something, you can opt into that thing. So they don't give you everything by default out of the box. Whenever I need something, I can just quickly opt into it, which is really, really cool. And by default, it is statically rendered. So all the content are static, but you can opt into server-side rendering or hybrid rendering. So now that we have a little overview of what Astro is, we want to now look at what Sanity is. So basically, Sanity is a headless CMS for structured content. So CMS is a content management system. So if you've heard of WordPress, WordPress is a content management system, but WordPress is not headless. And when something is headless in this context, it means that we can plug in any front end to our backend. And since Sanity is a headless CMS, we can easily store and manage content separately from the front end. So we can have our content on Sanity, then we can plug in any front end. So it can be either Next.js, React, any framework that supports Sanity, of course. And Sanity uses a query language called Grok, and it's kind of similar to GraphQL for fetching content. And it's really, really easy when you're trying to query data because you can specifically query any data you want to directly. And of course, it's great for developers like you and me who want flexibility and structured content. So with that being said, let's start coding. All right, so I have VS Code opened and I created a folder called Stay Light YT. So you can create an empty folder on your file explorer and open that folder on VS Code. You should get a blank canvas like me. So the first thing that we will be doing is to install Astro. So I can go back and on the Astro's website, Astro.build. So this is the command to create an Astro project. So I'll copy it and I will open my terminal by pressing Ctrl and the tilde. So the tilde is a squiggly line before your one button. So either you have that open or you can just do Ctrl J and select your terminal. Either ways you can still access it from there. So I will paste in that command. Then I want to create the project on our folder, so I'll just use the period sign to do that. Then I'll hit enter. I'll say yes. So they're asking us how we would like to start our new project. We would like to start with the default and the recommended one, so we'll just go directly. but you have other options as well here. Then we obviously want to install dependencies, and we also want to initialize a Git repository as well. All right, so you might get this confirmation that the project has been initialized, but mine has not been initialized, because as you can see, there was a timeout error. So I will just clear this as a CLS and run npm I. So in case if you have this error, just try to do npm I to make sure that all the dependencies are installed so that you don't have issues later on. All right, so all the dependencies have been installed. So let me clear my screen, and I will just quickly walk through all the files. So this .vs code is from my own end. So basically, this is where any words that are not correct is being stored using an extension I think is so it's supposed to be, I think it's spell checker, right? Yeah, code spell checker. So this is the extension I use to just check if the words are correct or not. Then we have the node modules folder. So this is where all our dependencies are basically stored. And the public folder is where we have the favicon and any other and every asset you want to be accessed directly on the internet when it's live as well. Then the source folder is where we are going to be spending much time, and you can see it has some folders under it. So the first one is the asset. Again, this is where we are going to store our images. If you have a video, you can store that here as well. Then they have a components folder. So basically, Astro has this similar component structure like React. So you can break things into different components and kind of like glue them together. So I'm going to show you can do that. And as you can see, we have this welcome.astro. So this is just the component. So you can see it uses normal div tag. So there's nothing like RAFC where you have like a template, and it uses class, as you can see right here. So these three lines you are seeing is called code ference. So this is where we are going to import our images. We can even perform some JavaScript operations here as well. So I can say name should be Lawrence, and it should be in a string. I can easily access the name by just using the curly brackets and just saying name. So you can see it's really dynamic as well in terms of how you can easily pass data. So let me just get rid of it, this one as well. And if I close this div tag, you see we have a style tag. So all these styles here are just related to just the welcome to Astro component. I don't want to call this inline. I've forgotten what the name means, but essentially you can style each component without affecting the general one. So you can still make this as an attribute called is global, or a property called is global. So if something is global, which means the styles will affect all other files that has either the same attributes or tag or even the same class name as well. So I will just again get rid of this, and we're going to delete this in a minute as well. And again, I just remember you can also add different languages. So if you're using SAS, you can pass in SAS right here. And all what I'm saying is accessible on the documentation. So let's quickly open that. So if we search for styles, yeah, you can see style in Astro, and this was what I was trying to look for. So scope styles. So you can easily, all Astro styles CSS rules are automatically scoped by default to their folder. So the names now are not just this when it's rendered. So when it's being compared, it has this weird name structure that's appended to it. So each of them are unique based on the file. So that's about that. So let me just get rid of this again. They also have the layout folder, and the layout essentially renders our content. So you can see that we have the title, the body, and we have a slot. So basically this lets us like wrap up, slotting different pages inside our bodies. So for this to make sense, let me just go to our pages folder, which has all the pages. Then essentially we have the layouts now. As you can see, the layout, which is the layout folder, we're using it here, and we're passing the welcome component as a slot right here. So I really hope that makes sense. And you can also see that the style tag is reused here as well. And let me just touch on this again. Essentially, this pages folder is where you want to put any of the files that you want to be rendered separately. So this is where you can have our index of Astro, which is the home page, our about page, and any other page. So if I go back to the docs, and you can see we are the first link under the router navigation, and it's using this file-based routing approach. And as you can see that Astro leverages a routing strategy called file-based routing, and each of our files in our pages folder that is inside the source directory becomes an endpoint. So automatically, if we add another page right here, say about Astro, so this one becomes an endpoint. So we can go to our website and say www.com, maybe we'll call it staylightyt/about. And again, we also have the astro.config.mjs file. So this is where we can add our different configurations. And while we are here, let's just quickly set and change the port. So we'll do that by saying server, and I'll set the port to port 3000, because I think the default port is 4321. So we'll just reset ours to 3000. All right, so let's also come right here. Ignore this error. I don't know why that is showing, but maybe we might have to reload our VS Code again. So I just want to touch on this package of 0.5 because it's really important. So as at the time of recording this video, the version of Astro we are using is 5.7.12. And I think when I was building the project, it was 5.7.5. So you can see it changes really fast. And these days, all these guys like Astro, Sanity, React, they ship a lot of stuff lately. So just for you to be able to follow along, I would highly suggest use this exact version. So we can start our development server by saying npm run dev. And you can see that our port is 3000, so we can quickly go to there and put it on this port right here and take it to the first page. All right, so we have these boilerplates that they give to us by default, and the first thing I want to do is to get rid of this toolbar. So basically it helps like in accessibility and other stuff as well, but I really don't use it that much, but you can leave it if you want to. So to get rid of it, we'll go back and right here I'll say the dev toolbar should be disabled. So we say enabled should be false. All right, so if we check now, you can see it's gone. And another thing I want to bring to your notice is that I'm using an extension called, let me search for the name. So I'm using the Astro extension. So it gives you this nice syntax and semantic highlighting if your files are saved with .astro. So that's why mine is looking really formatted and looking really nice. So just have that extension enabled or installed as well. Then another thing I want to do is to bring in the assets and the files that we'll need. So I'll quickly do that. So I'll copy everything and I will just remove these two because they're already here. Then I will just drag the rest of here. Again, all these are in the GitHub repo if you want access to that. But if you don't have access to that, you can just use any image from the internet. All these images are gotten from pixels. All right, so I said we also need a constant file, and we need to store that constant file inside a lib folder. So I'll just create a new folder called lib, and I'll bring up that file again, and I will just take this constant file and move it right here. So basically these are just static files that we'll be starting with. Then later on, when we bring in Sanity, we'll make our content more dynamic. All right, so we can close this out, and let's go back to our layouts folder or layouts file, and let's just make some changes to the title and other things as well. And by the way, it seems I will need to open the finished version that is being deployed on the file so that we can be referencing to it every once in a while. So right here, we just want to change the title and the description. So you can come here and use the code fence, and we just want to make this title dynamic easily from our code fence here. So I don't want to hard code it right here. I just want to pass in the title variable as well as the description as well. So to do that, let me first of all get rid of this. We don't need this one. So I will say const, and I'll open the curly bracket and say title. Then I will just pass in a default title and say, let's say welcome to the stay, and type stay bytes tail. And for the description, I think I will have to copy the description. So I'll come right here, and then this is the description we need. So I'll just quickly copy the elements. Then I will just come back here, and let me just paste it here and just cut this from here to here and cut it out. Then we don't need all this anymore, and I'll paste it here. And at the end, I will say Astro props and save. All right, so this will be the default title for each of the page, because later on we want to make the title different. So when we are on the room details page, so we want to pass in the title and give it a name that references that particular page that we are on. But if we don't add a title, it will just fall back to this default one. So we also need to add the types for it as well. So I'll just say interface props, then I'll say title, and we'll make it optional so it doesn't give us error when we don't have the title. And we'll also make the description optional as well. Now that we have this in place, we just have to pass in the title and the description. So here I will come here and say it should be the title, and I will copy this down and say description. I'll also clear this one out and just pass in the description right here like so. So if we check now, you can see it says welcome to Staylight. And if we check head tag right here, you can see the description coming through. So the next thing I want to do is to bring in the fonts. So we'll go to the Astro doc, and I will go to the fonts. Yes. So we'll be using font source. So as you can see, font source project simplifies using Google fonts and other open source fonts. So the fonts we'll be using is Poppins. So I'll quickly copy this one go back, open our terminal, and I'll create a new one, and I'll paste in that terminal and make sure that I close it, because for some reason it automatically runs. So I'll clear this out and I just click up to bring it back. Then I will try and paste it again. Then this time I will just set this to Poppins. Alright, so it has been installed. So in order to use it, if we go back to the documentation, that gives us a guide. So it's just to copy this one like so. And you can also copy the weight. So I will just copy this one as reference for now. And I'll just paste it. Let me just paste it here, because I'm going to change later when we install Tailwind. So I'll say Poppins. Then I can copy it. Oh, you know what? Let me just call this out and just put this here. So I will just set this one to be 400.css, and I will do this to like let's do it to 800. So say 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's just make it 9. And I'll just add this to my workspace. So if you install the code speller, you will get that blue squiggly line. So we save. So currently we're not going to implement it now until we install Tailwind CSS. So to install Tailwind CSS, what we have to do is to come back to our Astro docs. You can do this via the Tailwind CSS website, but you can also do that in Astro as well. So you can go to styles and CSS, then we just look for Tailwind and click add Tailwind version 4. So with this now, it's going to add the version 4 of Tailwind, and the version 4 of Tailwind is quite different from the version 3. So we no longer need the tailwind.config file. So everything is being bundled into this Tailwind CSS Vite plugin that we will use inside this Vite object. Alright, so I believe we no longer need this anymore. So we can just close this out. Then I'll copy this again and I'll open a terminal and paste it in. Hit enter. So we just say yes. And automatically this is going to just help us install it and add the Tailwind CSS to the Vite object. So we'll say yes again and we'll say yes. We can clear this out. And before we clear our screen, you can see that the action that is required is that we must import the Tailwind style sheet in our layout file. So let me just copy this here and clear our screen. And since we're on our layout file, we'll just paste this like so, and I will save the file. So we can still restructure this to be much more better. So we can say dot dot, go up one level, then we'll go to styles and global.css. All right, so now we have Tailwind installed, and the last thing we need to install for now is the ShadCN library. So basically, ShadCN is a component library that has a set of well-designed and accessible components that we can use in our application. And all these components are easily customizable. So we're going to see that as we move on with the project. So to install this, we just need to go to the docs, and you can see we can select the framework. So search for Astro, and you see the following guide is for Tailwind version 4. If you are using Tailwind version 3, use this one, but we are already using version 4, so that's fine, and we've done this first step. So the next step we have to do is to make sure we have this in our ts.config file. So I will go back and look for our ts.config file, and I will copy this entire thing and paste it right here, add the comma here. So we don't need this anymore, and also don't need this. Save. I'll close this out, and we also need to run the shardcn and CLI. So I'll copy this and open our terminal again, pasting that. So before you can install shardcn, always make sure that you have Tailwind installed. So it's saying which color would you like us to use, so we'll just go with the neutral one. So you can select anyone, but just go with the default one. And right now it's trying to update our global.css file. All right, so everything has been completed, so we can clear our screen. If you check our globals.css, you can see that we have more stuff added to our global.css file. And right here, before we come and talk more about this, I will go back to the shardcn website and I'll go to themes, and they have some themes right here, and you can see that it says some new theme editor is coming soon. So what we used on the final product is the blue one, so you can just go to back to the website and click on blue and copy the code, and make sure you're on the version 4, not version 3. So we'll copy this and we'll go back to our code and make sure that copy this one, we'll collapse this one, and delete them and paste in the one we just copied to save. All right, so all of our Tailwind configurations will now be done in this global.css file, which is really cool. We don't need to have a global.css then doing another configuration in a tailwind.configuration file. So right here, I just want to do a couple of things. The first thing is to pass in the fonts that we'll be using. So in our case, we install the Poppins font, so we'll just say font, I'll call this font Poppins. Now just pass in Poppins, and the default will be sans serif. And you can also customize font width as well. So I'm just showing you how to do this because I won't be using everything by default, but I will show you how you can customize your own font weight, breakpoints, font size, and also for font weight, we just say hyphen font weight and pass in the number, then we just say 300. Then I think it's for 400, so we'll start from 400. So copy this or duplicate this like 5 times or 6 times. So 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. So call this one out. So 900, 800, 700, 600. They will also do the same to the text size as well, or font size. So say font size, I'll say text 50, I'll say 0.8 rem, and I'll copy this like 6 more times, and this one will be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. Let's still do 2 more. So we say 800, 900. And for this, I'll quickly populate all the size and get back to you. Then lastly, we'll just add it for the breakpoints. So say breakpoints. Say breakpoints. I see we have one to complete here. So say small, set this to like 36 rem. Then we'll do like 3 more. So this one will be MD, large, and extra large. So I wrote, let me look for that, 68.75 rem. Yes, 64 rem. And yes, 48 rem. All right, cool. So all these that we've added won't override the Tailwind styles. So I would really urge you, if you can pause the video, to pause the video and go to the Tailwind docs to really read more about the version 4, because they changed a lot of things in the version 4. So I really urge you, if you can go there and just skim through it. But all these that we just added are not overriding the styles from Tailwind. So we can easily use text large, text small as well alongside these ones. So in order for us to test if everything is working, we'll first of all go back to our local project, and we don't have anything. Did that stop? So let's just stop server and start it again. Npm run dev. All right, so let's check it now. So I will quickly just get rid of this welcome.astro component, and I'll go to the index.astro and get rid of all these ones as well. I will just say h1 and just say hello world. Okay, so we'll go back to the layouts file, and in the body we can see a class, and now we can pass the font and we'll say Poppins. So moment of truth, yeah, so the Poppins font is coming in. So if I inspect now, you can see the Poppins right here. Okay, so let's also confirm if the background is coming through as well. So we can say BG should be, let's just do the primary color. Okay, so that's working as well. Right, guys, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to create our header and our footer section.